Hello ladies and gentlemen, Panzer here, and welcome to the Technomancer. This is one that I've been waiting on for a while now. First things first, it's not a bad looking game. It really isn't. So what is this? This is a sort of cyberpunk RPG, and those two words combined means most of you have already gone to look this up on Steam. It's very much an RPG in the style of Witcher 3, and it has the same sort of issues that come along with that. So, we've got this sort of open world. Let me just open up the map. I'm playing this with a controller, by the way. So that's why you're seeing controller prompts. That seems to work quite well. So, this is the full world map. If we just go to the area that we're in the slums right now. And this whole game takes place on Mars. So, this is the slums area. It's actually quite a big map. And this is just one of the city areas. So, first things first, let's talk about the RPG aspects of it. So, yes, health bars are a thing. These guys are neutral hostile, so they're not going to attack me unless I attack them. But they are members of a local gang, and there's quite a lot of them. So I'm not going to take them on. They are actually quite tough to beat. They will follow you around until you sort of leave their area. And they're not particularly friendly people. Right, so, alright, let's walk through some of the skills in this. So, here we've got the full skill tree, and these are different combat stances. So, the Guardian is a sort of blunt weapon and a shield, so a mace and shield of some kind. And we've got the Rogue, which uses a gun and a dagger. Alright, let's just move away so they can actually shut up right now. And, the warrior uses a collapsible staff. Now, the warrior stance is really the sort of main kind of default combat stance in a way, because that's the most balanced one for offensive and defensive, whereas the rogue is very much about speed, quick attacks, and poison to deal damage, and the Guardian, of course, is your more tanky defensive class, where you have better protection against attacks, and you have the ability to parry attacks as well, which is something you can do. I believe the Rogue is the only one that really can't really parry it. I've seen it happen with the Warrior. I don't know exactly how that works, but the Guardian one, you can use the shield. And if you put the block up at the same time the attack comes in, you get a parry which staggers the opponents as well, which is very, very nice. And of course, as a Technomancer, you have the Technomancer tree, which involves lightning-based abilities. So if you remember in, Jedi Academy, I don't know how many people played that. That was a really good game. Jedi Academy, you had the dark side powers of the Force, and you could use Force Lightning. This works very similarly to that. It does some damage, and it has a chance of completely immobilizing the enemy in a sort of fit of shock, or electrocution, if you will. So that's one thing that you can do, and of course you can electrify your weapon, so that is kind of a passive. I'll just show how that works. If you look at the top left there are the two hexes, and those are basically your mana. In this game it's called fluids, so when you cast an ability, it uses up one of those blocks. Maybe more as well as time goes on. You get stronger abilities, they might use more, and they take some time to recharge, but you can of course use something called a focus injection, which is effectively a mana potion that'll regenerate all of that. And as you can see there, the symbol for the electrify weapon is taking up one of those slots. So as a passive ability, it's active all the way. And I think I can actually just take it out here. Let me just go into my warrior stance. So you can see my weapon is electrified. And I can actually turn that off. And now we regain that block of fluids. And if I activate it again, it doesn't so much just cost activation, but it also just permanently takes up that block, so you effectively now only have one available. So that's something that you can just leave on. It does a little bit more damage and has a chance of immobilizing the enemies just as much as the electric arc ability does too. Right, so as an RPG, of course, what is the story of this? Well, humans are now on Mars, and they've been living on Mars for a long time, But it's still very much a wild and lawless frontier, so you've got all sorts of political struggles going on, kind of Deus Ex style, where different corporations are vying for power, and then of course you've got the slums, where you've got the underworld gangs, and the sort of mafia-like crime bosses that are controlling the people under the corporation owners, and of course then you have the Technomancers, who are basically the witches, right? If you've played Witcher 2 and 3, you'll know how witches are actually treated. These guys are mutants, but the humans don't actually know that they're mutants, because their mutants are actually very different. So, basically, if they find out that you are mutants, they will treat you like the other mutants, and that's why the Technomancers keep that a big secret. So that's where your electrical abilities and things come from. So, in this world, the Technomancers basically perform the role of cleaning up areas. They go in and do the dirty work that people don't want to do, and there's a war currently going on between the ASC and one of the other factions, I believe called Aurora. So there's a war going on, and you'll be assigned missions later on. I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but that's basically the setup right now. Okay, so this is the exchange. This is the more civilized part of the city, but still very much a common area. And this is where the majority of trade goes on. So, if we have a look at the map... Actually, I could even show you on the big map. So, this is the market area, and you've got a bunch of contacts over here that you can talk to, where you get all of your quests and things from. I'm just going to go back to the bed there, because I don't know how many of you noticed there was a tooltip that came up earlier. It said I was fatigued, and what that does is it actually lowers your experience gain. So you do need to rest periodically as well. When I say it lowers it, it doesn't give you a penalty, rather it just makes it the normal rate. So it's kind of like WoW, when you log out at an inn, you get a rested state, and you do actually gain XP faster. So that's something that's beneficial for us. But I gotta say, and part of why I'm actually showing you all of this as I'm talking, is really just so you can take in what the world looks like. Now, make no mistake, this game has a couple of issues with polish, really, but it is a very beautifully crafted world. And as an RPG, it has some flaws, but it's not bad. It has some of the basic elements which I really like. Alright, so this is our home. Woo. A little bit of a stutter there. And this is our room. So we've got a workbench over here where we can do crafting. I'm going to show you that in a second. Let's just quickly rest up here. Let's rest until morning. So it's another 2 hours or so. I believe he's just going to sit there, stare at the wall for a little while. That's how we rest. Alright, you are rested, you obtain an experience bonus. So you can see the experience bonus is there at the top where it says XP, there's an extra plus up there now. Alright, so, crafting. Now, what we can actually do here, we can't craft entirely new weapons, but we can craft upgrades. So that's what we can actually do. We can also craft, I believe we can craft potions as well, and traps. So those are things that we can use. And we can, of course, craft upgrades for our armor as well. So, we're just going to go into the weapons. And this is a cookery, because I tend to prefer the rogue stance. So, I actually got myself a new weapon. So, I haven't actually upgraded this yet. So, this is the cookery. And all the weapons are actually quite nicely detailed. The textures are a little bit low res at times, but the detailing, and if you look at just all the little notches on the blade and everything and the scratches, is actually quite nicely detailed there. And we can get some upgrades here that will give us different stats. So if you look there on the right, you can see this is a damage upgrade. It gives it 2 extra points damage per hit. Disruption is basically a stun. As far as I can tell, it stops the enemies from moving and attacking, and it interrupts their attacks. And a critical hit, of course, does what it says on the tin. It basically is a much more powerful hit. So there. But additionally, this weapon has a special stat. Now, the rogue stance daggers actually by default already have a chance of poisoning, but this one has a plus 10% on that base chance, so it will poison more effectively, and it has this nice greenish glow when you're actually using it. So let's have a look at some of the other upgrades that we can get. And all of these upgrades all have a different appearance, which is very nice. I like this extra level of detail. And we also can upgrade our hilt as well, which will give us a little bit more in terms of just overall stats, really. So I'm thinking what I want to do is upgrade this one for damage. On the hilt, we are missing some components. You can see there at the bottom left. We're going to need some upgrades for that. So I could go with critical hit. So we'll upgrade that. Now that should bring us up to 13%. And if we upgrade the guard, I think... yeah, we're going to need some metal for that. So we could just go additional crit as well, or we could even upgrade our disruption. I could go with disruptor. Yeah, that's good. And of course we can recycle these to get components back. And depending on your crafting skill level, you'll get more materials back for recycling per level. Alright, so that's our upgraded weapon there. And of course, Rogue has a gun. So this is a nail gun. This is the very basic weapon that you're given from the beginning. This is not very far in, so that's why I don't really have a lot of stuff upgraded here. But you can see all of the stuff to upgrade. And different weapons have additional slots as well. Not every weapon is created equal. So that's something to bear in mind. And of course the same goes for armor as well. We can do some upgrades on the shoulders. And we've also got arm slots that we can upgrade there as well. We will need blueprints, so that's another thing to take note of. I do actually have level 2 crafting, I believe, but you need to go and get the recipes for particular things. So if you want armor, you need to actually get the upgrade recipes to be able to do that. So, yeah, a lot of progression here, and a lot of things to choose from to really build a different sort of character. So that's all well and good, but what else can we do? So, right now, this is the point in the story where the game opens up for the first time. So I'm just going to show you the journal. So you can see these are the quests that we have available. We can choose to follow different quests as well. And they're secondary quests too. So there's all sorts of things we can do. Now, like I said, this is the first point where the game kind of opens up. Before this, it's mainly a tutorial, and it culminates in a sort of mini boss battle. So, it definitely has a very explosive introduction. But so far, it's, yeah, it's still got a lot to prove. I mean, this is still very early on. I didn't want to go too far into the story to avoid spoilers. Alright, so this is one of the NPCs we can interact with. And of course we can skip the dialogue as well, which I am going to do. So, he is an NPC we can interact with, and he's got nothing for us right now, but he will probably have something in future. Right, let's talk to Eliza Major. Incidentally, you might have noticed that my character's name is Zachariah Mancer. Now, all of the Technomancers in this universe, once they are initiated, all take on the last name of Mancer. So that's, if you happen to play this game and wonder why they're all being called that, that's, yeah, that is the reason. Oh, she kind of pops in front of us like that.
Welcome to my unit.
The honor is mine, Captain.
For now, we're stationed in town and focusing on missions intended to maintain order and safety among the civilians.
Now, the voice acting in this game is not bad. It is a little bit hit and miss in places, but for the most part, it is pretty decent. The voice quality is definitely very good. The tone can be a little bit off at times, but I think the only real problem is that sometimes the characters, they seem like they're recorded at different times, so they don't know how to react to each other, so the tone shifts in a really weird way. But other than that, the actual voice quality and the voice acting is pretty decent, so no real complaints there.
Your mission is to infiltrate the terrorists, stop the attacks, and find your way to their leader, Bulgakov. Orders are to catch...
Alright, I'm gonna skip this for the sake of story, so that you don't get anything spoiled. Alright, let's just skip through that. Alright, so now we have the option of picking our team. So, this is sort of like... this has elements of Mass Effect, in a way. In the sense that you can form a team of people, except that as opposed to Mass Effect, where you can only pick from your crew, in this case you can pick from literally almost anybody. There are a lot of NPCs in the world that you can actually add to your team. So that's actually a really, really nice thing to see. And of course, they all have different equipment, different stats, and different passive bonuses that you can see there. So David Ward there is a specialist with the Mason Shield, and Jeffrey Hunter is a hunter. So so he's a rifleman, and he gets higher damage with rifles, I guess, or from ranged attacks. So it's actually good to have both of these guys. So I'm going to try and add both of them. And there we go. So now they will follow us around and join us on our missions. Now, here's the thing. Missions also have timers. Time does pass in this game. So, yeah. I think I can easily show this like this. Yeah, so this particular mission has two objectives. So what you can see here is the main objective is to investigate the opposition to the regime. This will be more of a secondary objective, but we have 1 day and 10 hours to actually complete it. So bear in mind that some quests do have timers. I'm not a big fan of that. Personally, I don't really like that sort of thing. I feel like it's very restrictive in RPGs, and I think a lot of people might not enjoy that. It's nice though that the NPCs do have dialogue, and some of it is not mission specific. They do sort of just comment on things in the world, which is always nice to see. Right, so we need to go and find these deserters. Let's go and have a look. So, I think I'm just going to track this, and let's see if we can find it. Alright, so here we are, back in the slums again, because that's where this mission takes place. Let's see. Where do I need to go? Alright, so I'm heading off in this direction. Now, it is actually normal for the maps to all sort of seem like they're at the same time of day, because on Mars, supposedly, exposure to the sun is completely deadly. Oh, here we go. So, we've got combat already. Now, combat system, there is a lock-on system that works. And I hesitate to use the word, but it's like Dark Souls. I know a lot of people do not like comparisons to Dark Souls, but that lock-on system really works just like it. Especially if you're using a controller. You hold in the right thumbstick to, or right analog stick to activate the lock-on, and then you trigger left and right, and I've been killed. It's really hard to talk about this at the same time. Alright, as I was saying, the lock-on system is very much like Dark Souls. You flick left and right to switch between targets, which can be very annoying because the right analog stick controls the camera as well. So sometimes the camera likes to get stuck behind certain things and you can't see anything, and then you'll have to unlock and then relock again, which is a little bit of a problem. But yeah, like I said, this game lacks in polish in some areas, and that happens to be one of them. Right, let's over here. Alright, let's open this up with, let's just dodge. So, and now that's the electric arc ability. Alright, we've got a disrupting ability when we use the staff as well. I'm actually having my arse handed to me here. So let's use a health injector, which is essentially a health potion. And it sort of works over time. And let's switch over to our rogue class. So you can do this mid-battle. It's fairly intuitive, but the controls are a little bit slow to use. You're having to hold RB and then switch. So you can see with the rogue, we actually dodge or dash much further, or much farther than we normally would, using any of the other stances. So Guardian, of course, is the shortest distance when it comes to dodging, and the rogue is the fastest. So you can see kind of what the different stances are for. Now, there is this thing that you can see right there that says Drain Serum, in brackets, kill. Now, what this actually is, serum is a form of currency, which is actually taken from the life force of particular things. How it actually works, I don't fully understand yet. But what I do know is that these guys here are still alive. In fact, you can see them breathing. They are actually well and truly still alive. So if we were to drain serum, they would die, and that would reduce our karma. However, it would give us more currency. So basically, you're getting money for killing people, but it will make you less liked. Stop looking at the butt over there, YouTube viewers. I know what you're doing. Okay, so yeah, that's... I think that's the actual objective complete, isn't it? It might be. Find the deserters, kill the deserters. Alright, so we've still got more deserters to kill. Right then, let's get on with it then. I think this is the correct way. Got to descend further and further into the slums to go and look for them. Okay, you might have noticed at the top right earlier a little message came up that says, if I leave, Boris will escape. Now, that's a conditional thing.
I hope you're not planning to kill him. I know Boris. He's a... You must just beat the end of his tether.
This is a very strange place indeed. So, basically, before we get into combat, I just want to explain that that was a conditional objective. So if I leave this area now, this is a sort of point of no return. And, yeah, leaving this area will result in basically failing the last objective, i.e. letting the sergeant that's in command of these deserters escape. So, well, it doesn't quite make sense because they don't even know we're here yet. We're going to go along with it anyway. But just bear in mind that that sort of thing exists, and I feel that it kind of... It's not really something I particularly like saying. It's very restrictive. So bear in mind, before you go into any missions, always know what you're going in for and be prepared beforehand. Because there's really no guarantee that you won't be in a stage of, in a state of no return. Right, so, yeah, the whole knocking out thing seems a little bit contrived. I understand that, of course, it's necessary for the entire sort of lore, but when you shoot somebody several times, you do expect them to actually die from it. But that's sort of a personal thing. You might not see a huge problem with that. For me, it's a little bit strange. And let's get all of that loot. Yeah, let's take everything. Why not? And let's check all the things. Of course, yes, this is a sort of game where you'll want to loot everything. Now, these red boxes here are locked. And this and several doors in the world are also locked. I don't think there's any consequence for picking them, but I don't have the lock-picking skill, so I can't actually attempt to do that anyway. But just know that that is a thing you can do to unlock shortcuts or secrets around the world. Right, so let's proceed on. And here, another place to loot. Let's take everything. I actually do want to check out what is that we just picked up earlier. I think it was a jacket. Yep. So you can see this jacket here has a much higher resistance to disruption, but it hampers our fluid regeneration. So of course, if you are using a lot of Technomancer spells, that might not be in your favor. At the same time, this has much higher damage resistance, but it doesn't have any space for upgrades. So that's a lot of things to bear in mind. It's kind of like having gem sockets. In a way. We can also have a look at the equipment on our team over here, and we can equip them differently. So that's a thing as well. But I'm going to hold on to that jacket for now. Let's see if we can actually switch their weapons out as well. If you have people on your team, you can even buy a lot of weapons and equip them. There are some weapons that you can buy that the Technomancers absolutely cannot use. Alright, here we go. And we've got a cutscene. Cutscenes, for the most part, in this game are quite well done. I would say that they're a little bit too serious. The game does take it a little bit too serious, but I think it's a nice touch. It's a nice try anyway. Alright, let's just skip through all of this and get straight to the fighting. And I've already been smacked in the face. Alright. Oh god, okay, And I'm just getting stuck on the wall there, because, you know, that's a thing I do. There is also an active pause. If we press LB, you do get this slow down time. You notice that it isn't actually completely stopped. You can take this time to set up traps and the like. In fact, let's try that. Let's put a trap down now. That... I'll be very surprised that that doesn't kill them. Because, of course, it just knocks them out. That's the way this game works. You are effectively Batman, no matter what you do. I am completely out of health injections, so that is kind of why I am really trying very hard to avoid taking any hits. Alright, I think we succeeded.
Please, I'm begging you.
And of course, this is where we get to make a choice. And that's where I'm going to leave that video there. Because, really, this is one of the pivotal choices in the game, and this is going to be something that pops up a lot because, of course, like good RPGs, like games like Deus Ex, you do have options in your missions, and they will affect the way that mission plays out. And this is one of those choices. So I'm not going to show you what happens after this, because I would like for you to go and get this game now. I believe it's discounted for another few more hours by the time this video goes out. If it's not, I sincerely apologize, but please do go and check out this game. It is the Technomancer. It is on Steam right now, and it's published by Focus Home Interactive, one of my favorite publishers. So, really, I guess maybe I'm a little bit biased, but either way, I have high hopes for this game, and I hope it does well, but frankly, I think it needs a little bit more exposure than what it has right now. But that is the Technomancer. Go and check it out on Steam. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel, and comment down below if you have any questions whatsoever. And I will see you next time.